Here's how I can grow two products at the same time without having twice the work. So as you may or may not know, I'm Stefan, and I have a holding company called Nichemates, and we're building multiple products at the same time. Mainly right now, focusing on SwiftBrief and Made of Speeches, which is a Made of Honor speech generator or a wedding speech generator. And I want to show you how I use SwiftBrief to grow both SwiftBrief itself, but then also to grow Made of Speeches, kind of using the synergies and cutting down on the amount of work that I have to do in order to grow both of them. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm using SwiftBrief to produce SEO content that, in fact, helps Made of Speeches, so any of the speech tools, rank better and sell more speeches, which in return gives us not just revenue growth, but also organic traffic growth, which then, because SwiftBrief is an SEO tool, just reinforces Brief's growth because we can show in social media, I can go on Twitter and I can create content about the growth that we're producing with SwiftBrief for Made of Speeches. And I can also create case studies. Plus, we just make the tool SwiftBrief a lot better because we're intensely dogfooding it. And I'm going to show you how that looks like. So here's how that looks like on SwiftBrief. I have a very, very in-depth map for Bridesmaid for Hire, which is the domain that the speech generator lives on. And a lot of these, as you can see, have already been produced. So here we have 11 briefs that have been turned into content. And that in return leads to growth that we can see here. More closely, if we look at one of the clusters, we will see that more in depth. Let's look at Maid of Honor, for example. So if you've been doing this for the last month or so, and if you compare this, which is the last 28 days, you will see that we've added around 800 clicks in the last 28 days, which is all down to SwiftBrief because that's what we're doing, right? So we go on SwiftBrief, we built the roadmap initially that gives us all the pages we need to build out. And for every page, we're creating a brief. And that brief will then be turned via AI into content. And we'll have Jen, who is the founder of Bridesmaid for Hire, go in and edit the content and add some images and some infographics and things like that. Everything else is already done by SwiftBrief, so including internal linking, including some image recommendations, and a really solid piece of content that covers 80 to 90% of what needs to be covered. And we just go in and touch it up a bit, which brings the time we need to produce a piece of content to around 1 hour, maybe 90 minutes, which is significantly lower, especially for a long form that has around 2,000 to 3,000 words. I think usually we'll be looking at a week of both prep work, briefing, and then also content writing, which is by far takes the longest, right? So that's how I use one asset to grow another and continue to roll out more of these smaller assets that can easily be grown with SEO. And for that, I also do market research, also with SwiftBrief, keyword research, also with SwiftBrief. So I think we have some exciting things ahead. And if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next video.